Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Natty News, the nattiest news show in the world. As our YouTube viewers can see, I'm in the new Natty News headquarters. It's been a great experience, Pat. I can't believe we finally made it.
Yeah. I'm still working remotely, but I'll move into the headquarters soon.
I know we're gonna have our own influencer house soon. We're gonna have a whole Natty content creator community.
It's a really big operation here. Well, I'll have to contact the team about that.
Yeah, but how have you been, Pat? How has been those gains? How has everything been for you with training?
Man, I feel like it's been a busy week on both ends. We barely got together for this, but it's orientation week at school, so there's been a lot of socializing and not too many gains. I'm just trying to really maintain, and I signed up for a competition in November on the island. So, school allowing, I'd like to go and hopefully get my nationals total again.
Nice, man. Congratulations. That's gonna be very exciting. Do you have any numbers you're planning to hit for that, or is this gonna be whatever you can do, you're gonna do?
Well, to qualify for nationals, there's a very set number. It's 254 is the kilogram total. So it doesn't sound like anything I can do right now, but a lot of it's about peaking and staying in shape. We've been doing a new sort of program, my coach, where it's kind of really minimalist. There's one snatch workout, one clean and jerk, one jerk workout, and then one just strength workout every week, which should be kind of like gives me more of a singular focus. And I like focusing on one thing at a time. And kind of every week I'll get to do some heavy attempts and some technique work. So hopefully I'll be able to keep up my strength while I'm slaving away at physical therapy.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting that the program started for you. I'm looking forward, and I know the viewers are looking forward to hearing some physical therapist insight. We want to know the inside scoop of what you're learning so we can all become pseudo physiotherapists too.
Oh, well, this Natty News is going to become part of my studying.
I know we're gonna have like deep anatomy talks and all of that stuff going on soon enough.
Yeah, man. How's training been with moving?
It's been all right, yeah. So with the moving going on, it's been a little trickier to get some sessions in, but been able to find some time again. Like I've been finding it's better to even go work out, even if I have to cut it short. Like even if I can only get half an hour or 45 minutes, I find it's still better to do that than just skip it. So I really try to always make time to go, even if it's not a full workout. I think just doing a couple sets here and there is still beneficial.
Yeah, and I mean, while we're kind of just bantering, I think there's good value to this. It's this is kind of I think we're giving practical insight into training where it's not always 2 hours hyper focus, have your pre-workout, 8 hours of sleep, right? Sometimes it's like you got 35 minutes and you are tired as hell, but you get it done, right? So that's how it's going to kind of look once you really get into the lifestyle.
Exactly. And like, abuse some supersets, just try to get as much work as you can in that time. And you can still get some very good workouts in. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
overall training's been going pretty well. I randomly was trying for an overhead press PR a few days ago, and I barely missed 185, and I was so choked. Like,
Oh,
I was
good
like,
on you.
I got it like over my head, and I just was like pushing my head forward, trying to get that lockout, but it didn't come through. I was like a 5 minute grind.
Man, 185 is a lot to put overhead. I've lost some strength for other reasons, and push pressing 185 is kind of heavy now.
No, dude, I don't believe that. I remember seeing you push pressing 2 plates like nothing.
Well, I mean, it was for sets of like I think it was for sets of like five. Like it was like 4 sets of 5 or something.
Okay.
And by the third set, I was dying.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like any explosive movement, like push press, once you get past like 3 reps, it's like you don't have the endurance in that. Like your CTS is done.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly because I have no endurance to speak of.
That is very true. I have said it many times. You are the least fit person I know.
I know. I started introducing myself like that. It's like I may look like I can move quick, and I can move quick for 15 seconds, but beyond that time, you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly. You're like the definition of fast twitch muscle. Like you should be in a textbook for that.
Oh, yes. Yep. I got to put myself in there. Well, speaking of people who have made the most of their opportunities, we wanted to give a little bit of a recap and shout out to the Paralympics. We've been checking out some of the content now. Admittedly, we could not check out all of it, but all of it. For those of you who don't know, there are 22 sports in the Olympics, in the Paralympics, which sounds fine, but there's 537 events due to the different levels of disability. There's at least 4 different levels based on the level of disability, whether that be motor, impaired power, impaired range of motion, or loss of limbs, stature, ataxia, loss of sense. Like there's a lot of amazing sports out there. We wanted to highlight some of the ones that we found were very entertaining and very inspiring.
Oh man, honestly, I really enjoyed watching the Paralympics this year. And they have such a tough problem because I think it's amazing how they make all these different categories so many people are able to compete and are able to perform, and it's really great. But it also is what you're saying, it's overwhelming with how many categories there are and knowing the distinction of the rules and how they're adjusted for certain people and all that. So it's hard to kind of be able to like highlight all of that and show all those amazing stories with all these variations. So I think you and I, in our times watching it, we wanted to highlight some sports and some stuff that maybe you should check out, either watch some previous videos or look forward to it for the next Paralympics. But it was a ton of fun. And I really got to say, something I've noticed throughout every sport is there was this world record was just being blown away. And I think every sport I watched, a world record was broken. And I think it just shows about how these Paralympic athletes are getting so much more training and so much more financing to be able to compete and perform at such high levels. And so it's great to see. And it actually makes it very exciting because every time it's a new world record, and you're like, damn, I saw some history today.
Yeah, it's no joke. And some of these athletes, we were thinking about it. A lot of them are world class, even especially in the lower disability levels. They could be very close to competing in the regular Olympics, which is amazing considering a lot of them have a loss of limb or they can't see or whatnot.
Oh man, dude, I completely believe some of these Paralympic athletes are better than the fully able athletes. Like and I think there's a few examples I wanted to bring up too, but it is incredible the athleticism, the passion, the heart that these people show. And no, I've been sleeping on the Paralympics for too long, man. Like it's gonna be a staple of my Olympic watching now.
Yeah, right on. And well, I'll start us off with the Canadian swing the same way we did it for the Olympics. And also one more thing, and this is something, just because it's a frequently asked question that people think, Paralympics is not short for paraplegic. It means that it stands alongside the Olympics, which is why it always comes right after. But so in Canada, I want to pop us off with Greg Stewart, because he's from Kamloops, BC, so a little local star of ours. He's a shot putter. He was born with nothing below his left elbow. The guy is 7'2", 350 pounds, and oh man, those of you who haven't seen it, I want you guys to look up Greg Stewart, and then look up the podium picture of him, because his 2 competitors were, I think, like definitely under 6 feet. So he was towering over both of them, and he won by a landslide. I think he got close to a 16-meter shot put throw, which is absolutely amazing. And following up from that, Priscilla Gagne is a judoka who won a medal, but and she completes blind. And Anwar, you've done a little bit of jiu-jitsu and judo and whatnot. How well do you think you could do with your eyes closed?
Oh, dude, I think like a kindergartner could throw me. Especially one thing I think people don't realize is judo, it is so much about balance. Like a lot of these throws are incredibly elegant, and it's because of that balance. And as we know, your eyesight and your vision is a key part of creating that balance for you. A lot of like judokas, they find a place to look, like a stable place to kind of keep that in all perspective as they do some of these insane throws and flips and all this cool stuff. And so doing it blind, I cannot imagine even doing a simple throw blind. Like that is insane and really kind of adds to the level of complexity of these athletes doing.
Absolutely. And in school, we took a couple of courses on motor learning, and across all of it, across all the science, I think what's really established is that you can enhance all the hearing and like proprioception, like from your fingers and whatnot. But like vision is always going to be the most powerful sense of balance and sense of space. So I think it really can't be stated enough how difficult it is for someone to be blind and to be doing and to be like getting out there and flipping and being flipped. Like that is terrifying stuff. So congratulations to her. And lastly, I wanted to shout out Danielle Doris, who's a swimmer. Again, doesn't have a lower arm, and she was able to pull off a medal in swimming. Actually, Team Canada in general, just as good in the Paralympics as in the Olympics. We had 5 medals in swimming here too. And for those of you who didn't watch, swimming is quite incredible in the Paralympics. There's, again, across different levels, there's athletes missing, like just missing the lower arm across the hand, but there's also athletes with no arms swimming at alarming speeds. And I can't imagine how exhausting that is.
Man, like I've been trying to do a little more swimming on my own, and I am an awful swimmer. So when I see these people with no arms just going like a bullet through the water, I'm amazed by the dedication and the work they put in to get so good at that. Because I cannot imagine the early stages of learning to swim without arms. That's insane to me.
Yeah, and you know, just to bring it back to the point of Natty News, we believe that everyone should be physically active, and you know, I think if these people who are going through some of them quite honestly, like probably traumatic, a lot of them weren't born with these injuries too, right? They went through some traumatic injuries and loss of limb and whatnot, and they're still able to perform at such a high level. I think, again, if you're not giving it a shot, give some exercise a go. We can all do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, man, I feel like such I have no excuses if I don't want to do some exercise and stuff. I'm like, man, look at these people. Like, they have so much against them. Like, no one would hold it against you if you want to stay home and maybe sit on the couch when you don't have any legs. But then these people just like go above and beyond. It really is inspirational.
Yeah, well, like when you think about it, right? We've all done it. Like we've hurt our knee or whatnot, and we're like, oh, we'll just skip the gym today. I mean, there's sometimes you do need a break, but for the most part, no, that's not a good enough excuse. Some people don't have legs like we have a totally able upper body, or we could still work our lower limb. Like there's always something to do. There's almost always something to do.
Yeah, oh man, completely true. And so I want to actually kind of jump into one of the showcases of like an athlete who I believe is actually is like probably the greatest in the world in this sport. And I want to talk about the Paralympic powerlifting. So for those who aren't aware, powerlifting actually kind of replaces Olympic weightlifting when it comes to the Paralympics. And so then a high focus on the bench press. And so we have a lot of athletes who compete in the Paralympic bench press who don't have use of the lower body. And so it's just completely an upper body lift when they're doing these bench presses. And I really want to highlight the 2016 medal winner in the ultra heavyweight category, Simone Roman, who lifted 310 kgs in the bench press. Now, to give you a little bit of perspective, the world record in regular powerlifting bench press, completely raw, is 335.5 kilograms by Julius Maddox. And now, nothing but respect for Julius Maddox, but when you're lifting 310 kilograms, no leg drive, nothing, on a flat back bench pressing, in my mind, that's the most impressive feat of upper body strength I've ever seen. Like, I truly believe that Simone Roman is the strongest upper body human who ever lived. Unfortunately, he passed away between the 2016 and the 2021 Olympics, so we weren't able to see him compete again. But I truly believe he is the strongest bencher who ever existed.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, even without talking about leg drive, how do you stabilize yourself when the weight starts shifting ever so slightly with a heavy bench press? Incredible.
I mean, dude, I don't know if you've ever done much like leg up bench pressing in your time, but whenever I try doing it, like 185, it like kicks my ass. Like I hardly get 185 up, just because
Yeah,
like the balance and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, about 135 is kind of what I go with if I'm doing leg up bench press.
Oh man. And also just to kind of show how great this man was, the current champion in 2021 did an unbelievable 231 kilograms, which was done by Ashelby Jamil, and I apologize for getting the name wrong, but that is immensely strong. 231 kilograms is insane, but that 310 is just I can't believe that actually happened. And if you haven't, definitely check it out on YouTube. It's a crazy clip of strength. Um, and to kind of move on to that with another kind of insane spurt, and I think Pat, you and I, we were talking about this before, was murder ball, otherwise known as wheelchair rugby. Now, for those who aren't aware, the wheelchair sports in the Paralympics are insane. Like wheelchair basketball, wheelchair tennis, like just the fact they're so mobile on the wheelchair is insane. Like they're doing like, they kind of like go into like one wheel, kind of turn around 360 instantly. It's insane. Yeah. And like the rugby especially, I actually think the wheelchair rugby is tougher than real rugby, just because like you have the metal slamming into each other, you have these huge wheelchair car wrecks. It's wild.
It's terrifying, man. Like that can hurt you worse than muscle. Like stuff is hard metal.
Yeah, man, dude. Like watching that, I was like, I actually think these athletes are tougher than the regular rugby players with the impact static.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's almost like you imagine like the force of like a go-kart, and you're like, that could go straight into your legs.
Dude, they go so fast.
Yeah.
Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the wheelchair sports are amazing. You know, for they also have wheelchair race, right, on the track and field to replace the foot race. And I don't know if you've watched that, but they go at terrifyingly fast speeds. Like they have what you call like a racing wheelchair, right? Where there's kind of a third wheel in front, and they are just cranking their arms into it and taking away all stereotypes that people in a wheelchair move slowly, because they are over the speed limit there.
Man, I kind of wish we would have some of these like Paralympic events in the real Olympics too, just to get some more highlights on them, because I feel like those are a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I also think, and I wish I didn't, because I think in my undergrad there was the opportunity for a class to do adapted sport. I really kind of regret doing that now. I think it would have been very eye-opening to expose myself and realize how terrible I would be attempting to do anything athletic in a wheelchair.
Man, no, it really, yeah, because like I've had when I tore my hamstring, I was in a wheelchair for like a couple of days, and it was actually tough moving around. So like I can't imagine doing the full thing like that. Anyways, to go on to the next one was the Paralympic equestrian, and I really want to highlight the grade 1. So equestrian, it's one of those spurts where I'm like, I feel like the hearse does more of the work. Like in traditional Olympic equestrian, it's like the hearse should get the medal. But watching the Paralympic one changed my mind. Like we have these amazing athletes who are controlling the hearse with like their mouth. Like they're using their mouth to like steer them around and control them. Some of them don't have ability to use their legs or arms and other motor functions, and it's just insane the amount of control they get with such little movements from themselves. Like I truly did not enjoy equestrian as much as I had when I watched the Paralympic ones. It is just unbelievable the finesse they show with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just terrifying, right? I mean, riding a horse is terrifying enough, and not to mention you can't just like physically saddle them. You have to, yeah. Oh man, the way people adapt is amazing.
It truly is, man. It really is really is a phenomenal event, and really did enjoy watching it more than I thought I ever would with equestrian event. But yeah, overall, man, the Paralympics were a lot of fun, and it's just a shame they don't get as much media coverage.
Yeah, and I think it's tough for it happening right after the Olympics too, where everyone goes through a high, and then you know, like you go through the high of the Olympics. It is hard to keep that up too, and not to mention 530 events. So I wish there was a little bit more education to kind of like explain some of the sports. When we were doing the research for the episode, we had to read up a lot on the different classes of disability and like understand why, you know, some athletes were at different classifications and whatnot. So that's something I wish would improve for 2024, is that they would you know, help people to better understand it. I think it can be really enjoyable. Now, lastly, one sport that if you have not checked out, you have to, is Goalball. And Goalball it's quite unique in that this is a specifically Paralympic game. There is no Olympic version of it. It can be compared to handball, but not really. So this is a team sport for athletes who are blind or have vision impairment. It's 3-on-3, and if you were to imagine it, but you definitely should just watch this after you listen to the episode. But there's 2 goals, and there's 3 players there. The ball has a little kind of ringing sound on it, and that is all these athletes. If you close your eyes, you imagine that is all they have to rely on to know where the ball is in space. So these athletes, first of all, who are blind, will now often they either crank it like a handball, or they even do like a spin to get momentum, like in a shot put, and they just rip that ball at the other goal. And with that little sound, the athletes on the opposing team react to that like they're Matt Murdock Daredevil, and they dive and stop the ball. It's absolutely just incredible how it's done. It actually, personal interest, it started as a rehabilitation exercise for World War II veterans who were blinded. So it was kind of an extended physical therapy thing for them. But then they're like, oh, hey, this is actually like a really cool game, and people who like and it's so amazing. It's just, when you think about it, you know, it's like some superhero stuff.
You know, I feel like it would be a really fun game to play as well for like you and I and other people too. Only thing is, I feel like it needs to be in like a foam room for me and you, because unlike these athletes, we don't have the same like skills and ability to really determine their position. Like, I'm sure those athletes spent years and decades really honing those skills that we don't have. So I would want to play it in a foam room, because otherwise I'm just gonna hit my head against the floor or walk into 100 walls.
I don't know if you ever tried throwing something with your eyes closed. It is impossible to throw something straight. Like it's impossible.
Have you, when you were a kid, did you ever play the game where you'd go into a field and you'd close your eyes and you would just walk straight and you would end up just walking in a giant circle?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like a test for some like this and that stuff, and I've done it, and I can't walk in a straight line with my eyes closed, sober or not.
Yeah, I think like it's incredibly difficult to do that. To actually like know your position and know where you're going with your eyes closed. So man, I feel it would be a really fun game, but I don't think many goals would be scored.
No, I think we might hit each other, get a couple concussions, dive to nowhere. We'd be horrible.
Yeah, it would truly be a fiesta. Oh man, but yeah, I think what we really wanted to let people and listeners know is definitely give the Paralympics a shot. If you haven't, it's a lot of fun and really allows you to keep up that Olympic spirit into all the way into September.
Yeah, I think it's just finished up, but on YouTube Paralympic Games or on the CBC Olympics YouTube channel, plenty of highlights to watch. Too many highlights to watch. So go ahead and spend some time there.
Definitely. Now, Pat, for our next little segment today, I got a personal question from a friend, and I thought it'd be really fun to talk about it in Natty News. So I was reconnecting with a friend from university, and great guy, and he recently started going to gym a lot more, and he wants to like put on some serious muscle. And so he was asking me like, hey, Anwar, I know you work out, you have a little podcast show. I was wondering, what would be like a good program for me to get on to, you know, get some fit, get some muscle, gain some aesthetics. Like, I really want to get some bigger chest and arms. Like, what should I do to do that? And honestly, I was thinking that's a good question, because I feel like for maybe 75% or 80% of people who start working out, I truly believe it's for like the aesthetics. Like maybe for guys, it's always like, okay, I want to get some bigger chest and arms, want to get some bigger shoulders. For girls, it's I want to increase my glute bridge I want to be able to glute bridge 500 pounds. It really is like an aesthetics is a big motivator, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so now I'm kind of thinking like, what would be a good program for someone to start out who just wants to gain some muscle, get fit? What should they do? And I think that might be a fun little discussion for us to go over.
Nice. Well, I guess I can start. So, I mean, that's great that he has the intent to put on muscle, and I think he's already gone through the first hurdle. If you have the intent to do it, now we're just going to give you the steps. I think if you're a beginner, I would like you to do 3 workouts a week. I'd probably want them to be 40 to 60 minutes in length, ideally. 60 doesn't necessarily mean better than 40 minutes. More is not always better. And yeah, so, and I think if you're a beginner, I want us to do, I want us to get 5 different types of movements in. And you've heard it again and again. There's some type of squat, there's some type of hinge, there's some type of pulling, there's some type of pushing, and there's some sort of core or rotationary and grip movement. So that's 5 categories of movements. If you're doing 3 days, I would suggest some sort of a full body thing, because you're going to spend your first amount of time learning how to exercise, right? So, we'll do every single day. We'll probably start with maybe a hinge movement, go into a squat, and then maybe do like a push and pull superset. That can be good, honestly, right? So that's like a good template there. Maybe 4 sets of each, 4 sets of squats, 4 sets of like a deadlift, and then 4 sets of like a push and pull, and maybe like a grip or core exercise to finish. There can be variety in exercises, but honestly, maybe you don't need variety. Like it could literally be goblet squat, Romanian deadlift, chest press, row, and then like plank. And I don't think it has to get more complicated than that as a pure beginner. Yeah. So that's my pitch.
Pat, you know what? I'm going to disagree with you. And I think, you missed a key detail of this. And one of the key details, especially for my friend, is he wants to get some big chest and arms. And I know you love your hinges, you love your squats, but those aren't going to give you big chest and arms. And I know they're valuable for general strength. And I love them. I love my deadlifts. Falling a bit in and out of love of squats. But I got to say, though, I feel like a program like that, and a lot of strength programs, especially base ones, I think they emphasize too much on the posterior chain for your average gym goer. Because if you want to make some like of those muscle gains, I think you do need to train the lower body. But I feel like a lot of strength programs prioritize function over aesthetics. And let's be honest,
fair.
Everyone wants to look good, and even if you can squat 500 pounds, that doesn't mean you're gonna look really great.
You know what? You caught me slipping. Give me your take, though.
So I think strength training is important. I think everyone should do some strength training, and a program I really love is 531. I've talked about it before. I think it's a great program. I think it's actually a good mix of intensity as well as volume, especially if you do the big but boring variation, which ends up doing about, after you do the main 5-3-1 work, you do like 5x10 of the accessory movement and really can get a good pump from it. And I really like it because it does split it with 4 days a week, 2 upper, 2 lower, and gives a good variation as well. One thing I really like is every week you're doing more intense weight, where I think the biggest fault in beginners is progression. As most people, even people who go to the gym for a year or 2, they go to the gym, they bench like 155, and they do that next week, and they do that next week, and they just bench 155 for a whole year. And they still make gains, but it's not optimal. But with 5-3-1, it forces you to go up. Well, okay, this week I'm doing my 5s, then next week I'll do my 3s, then I'll do my 1s. And it's just that idea, that mental idea of keeping going up in weight, keep on a high intensity, working hard, I think is so great. And even though people consider it an intermediate program, I think it might not be as efficient as some beginner programs, but I think it's still a great one to go with when you start out, or even if you've trained for like a year or so, like when you're still in an early stage. I really do think it's a good mix of both bodybuilding as well as strength training.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I mean, no program is like beginner intermediate. Like literally, like we can do chin-ups, pull-ups, and squats. It's always going to be hard. A lot of it's about the intent for it, and it's what people used to call those advanced programs with like 30 supersets. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to do those unless I hop on a ridiculous amount of drugs. So, no, I'm going to take back what I said earlier. I think I'd still do some squats, some hinges, but I think I would change it up. I think for absolute beginner,
Well,
screw the back and front squats for now, I would say.
let's even take out absolute beginner. Let's talk about someone who's like gone to the gym for like a year, like someone
Sure.
who's not someone who's been in the gym, knows a few movements and stuff, but just like hasn't been taking it seriously.
Yeah, if you're gonna build some muscle, we're gonna dial it back here. I'm gonna take my biases away. I would say we're gonna pick exercises that are relatively simple to perform with low injury risk that you can really push yourself. Because what you gotta do to build muscle is you need to take it pretty close to failure. You can't ever really take a back squat to failure because you will crumple and die under all that weight, or a deadlift where you'll probably end up taking your back into a C-spine. So we will replace our exercise with things that are easier to do. So for legs, we'll still do legs. I think it's important, but we can replace it with things like step ups. We can replace hinge work with stuff like glute bridges, or even like Romanian deadlifts are infinitely easier than regular deadlifts. And then I think we're going to spend, at the end of the workout, I'd throw in 3-4 sets of show muscles, the good stuff. We're going to get some biceps, get some triceps, and then we got to get our shoulder work in. And I would like that as probably just like a superset or giant set, biceps, tricep extension, lateral raises, and taking the last set to failure. The great thing about those isolation movements is that you can really take them to failure and go hard on them, and injury risk is really low, and it's not too taxing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you go AMRAP on deadlifts, and the next 5 minutes you can't really count to 10. So yeah.
No, I love it, man. I think I fully agree. I feel like the key of this is you keep focusing on the strength training for the compound lifts. Like really try to focus on the progression for like your overhead press, bench press, all that good stuff. Your Romanian deadlifts, your type of squatting variation. But then just do a bunch of sets of accessories for the show muscles. Like, you know what, if you want to get like a bigger ass, you can definitely do some more work on that. If you want to get some bigger biceps, you just do an insane drop set of curls and you're going to feel that. And I think that's kind of the key I feel like almost everyone's training for like the general population. You should start off with some strength training to begin, because again, strength training, it's fun, it's important, it's a great base for a lot of stuff. And then you get in that bodybuilding, you get those show muscles going, and really you could do all of that in like 35 minutes.
You really can, right? And I've been writing some, like I had a client who wanted a hypertrophy program, but like she wants to stay strong because she has a 300-ish pound deadlift and squat, so we wanted to keep that. And we start the workout with like 20 to 25 minutes. Let's do like couple sets of 5 on deadlifts, couple sets of 3, and then do a set of 1 at like 90-95%, just to like make sure we have that. And then yeah, you can do a circuit of like biceps, triceps, shoulders, and you could do another circuit if you want. You could do like face pulls, like upper back, lower back, and core. You could probably get all that done in 20-25 minutes because they're supersets. Those exercises aren't super taxing. You can probably only rest like 45 to 60 seconds in between.
Yeah, and we've had many guests who talk about how they only train for like 45 minutes to an hour. Like we had like Owen coming on, and he talks about even some of his workouts are like 20-30 minutes, and he's in phenomenal shape. And even on the Absolute Elite, on the Juggernaut AI Facebook group, Chad Wesley Smith, who was a world record holder powerlifter, insanely strong and insanely knowledgeable. He was talking about how his full workout is like an hour, 10 minutes, like including warming up, including getting ready, getting mobile, doing all that. Hour, 10 minutes for his whole workout. And he's an elite level powerlifter.
Yeah, it's something to really, and I think we can't like mention enough, because I think some people think working out needs to be really time consuming, and I really don't think it needs to be, especially if you're doing general training. If it's taking more than an hour and you have general goals, perhaps revisit how much you're resting, or perhaps who's giving you the advice. Like, I think a lot of us don't need as much volume as we might have been told, by a lot of gym bros and by people who are selling complicated programs.
I feel like, especially the biggest thing with muscle growing is go to the gym, work out, do some honest 45 minutes, hour of good hard work, and then the bigger thing is diet and recovery. Making sure you sleep like your 8 hours or as much as you can is huge, as well as having your micronutrients set in place and getting in some good, nice protein. Like, I feel like that stuff is always overlooked immensely.
Yeah. So how much protein are we looking for our new muscle building lifter here?
Man, Pat, I'll be honest with you. I have read so much conflicting news about how much protein you need. So, way back in the day, the pro science one was 1 gram per body weight, and that's basically universally agreed as way too much protein. If you go by pound body weight, so example is I'm about 210 right now, 205, between 205 210. So that would be over 200 grams of protein a day. And for those who don't know, that's a ton of protein. Like, that's about 6 scoops of whey, maybe 4 or 5 chicken breasts, like just an immense amount of meat or whey or protein to get in. So that's just not even possible. And you can get into liver damage with that much protein, and just not always the best plan. It seems a lot of studies say that 1 gram per kilogram body weight, and I have seen, though, that can be seen as a little less for optimal muscle building. So I kind of try to go with about like 0.75 of my body weight in pounds. So I try to go for about 140, 150 grams for my body weight there. But then you get into the question of bioavailability of the protein and protein absorption, where can you take in a bunch of protein at once and still get optimal effects from it? Like, could I take in 150 grams all in once, and will that be as effective as doing a bunch of small meals? And it seems like the science says no, it's not as effective by taking in a whole lot of protein. So there does need to be a bit of some spacing. Now, the exact timing of that is still kind of unknown, so I don't think you need to do the whole 6, 7 meals of traditional bodybuilders. I truly believe the best way is just you do your standard 3 meals a day, have like about 30 grams of protein in each one, and you're good to go, honestly. Like, breakfast, have some eggs, maybe have a little protein shake. Lunch, have like some lean, maybe some chicken or something. Dinner, maybe have some like Greek yogurt, some cottage cheese. You're good to go. So that's kind of how I feel about it, but I would love to hear from you, and maybe you have some more insight about the mystery of how much protein you need and when should you take it.
Yeah, well, I'll start with some of the science, but I want to really give some practical advice with it. It seems to suggest that if you're a decently active person, that somewhere between, I think it was 1.5 or 1.6, 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram is about a good amount. So use myself as context. I'm about 85 kilograms. So that works out to about 130 to 170 grams of protein. 170 grams of protein is probably, it's along the range of like 3-ish chicken breasts, plus the protein you'd naturally get from other foods, right? If you're eating rice, beans, lentils, crackers, whatever, like it adds up there. Now, that for the beginner, I don't love making people count calories unless it really looks like they have to. So what we'll look for is something practical, and you had it right. If you have 3 meals a day, each meal should have a serving of protein. Now, do I want you to measure it? No, I don't think it's that serious. Like, let's have at least about a fist size portion of protein with every meal. And I think that's a decent amount, because that usually will be about 30-40 grams of protein. Now, if you're someone who cannot do that, like absolutely, you just can't eat that much, or you can't afford it or whatnot, I think that's where protein supplements come into the equation. Don't think of your protein as a way to enhance muscle building, do something special. Think of it as what it is, a supplement. If you're having a really hard time getting those 3 fist-sized servings a day, then let's supplement in a protein shake. When should you have it? Ideally, after your workout. Does it matter if you have it some other time? I don't think so, because you're new enough that you're going to gain muscle regardless. And all we want to do is provide positive conditions. It doesn't have to be optimal. You're not in a race. You might gain another like 0.8 grams of muscle in the year. Who the heck cares? Don't stress yourself. 3 servings, 3 or maybe 4 if you're a really bigger guy, and any ones that you can't do with meat or with like a solid source of protein, let's supplement that. And I think that will work really well for the majority of people.
Oh, completely. Oh, man. I think one of the biggest lies the supplement industry ever sold was the idea of your anabolic window after working out and making sure you have your post-workout protein shake. Now, in all truth, the post-workout protein shake has incredibly minimal effects on muscle recovery and muscle gain. And it really is like, and also most people after they work out, they go get a meal. So there's no reason why you need to get that protein shake instead of just having a normal meal that has some sort of protein in it. So I definitely do agree where you don't need to supplement it unless you really feel like you struggle with getting some protein, maybe breakfast, lunch, dinner, and it's just easier to do it that way. But there's no benefit of like whey protein over just having a regular lunch.
Mm-hmm. And I really believe as a trainer in giving people kind of like rough guidelines to follow rather than, I don't believe in giving people meal plans. I don't feel comfortable. I think there's a lot of other eating disorder relating things that come with like being on a meal plan all the time. Like me and you, I think we were able to stay in decent shape by following those guidelines, like almost instinctively, right? When after we work out, we're like, we should get some food in us. Now, if you really can't, that's where the shake comes in, right? But if you do that day after day, year after year, also getting a pre-workout meal in is pretty important too. If you can do that really consistency, that is going to do it rather than how far away from your workout you're having the protein shake or like how many exact grams of protein. I think it's the bigger picture that's more important.
Oh, completely. As well as I think micronutrients is another thing that's really important. Like making sure you eat your vegetables, your fruits, you get some fiber in, because all those things, they have indirect impacts on your muscle synthesis. Like,
yeah,
I'm not a biochemist and I don't fully understand everything, but from my understanding, the micronutrients allow all of our like signals and receptors to work optimally so that our body is able to make protein efficiently and create all these great natty gains. And so it's one of those things where it's not as simple as, okay, I get 150 grams of protein and I can eat like junk food for the rest of the day and I'm good to go.
Correct.
You do need to have those micronutrients as well. And man, the biggest one, sleep. You gotta sleep.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's the third pillar, right? It's recovery, and recovery is not necessarily a hypervolt or whatever like Normatec pants. It's getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, eating properly, maybe not staying out till like 2 a.m. every single day. Those things matter, and I think people don't take that into account. They're like, well, we can party 2-3 days a week. Well, you can, but you're not going to put on optimal gains. And if you're going to do that, just understand that when your results don't come as well, that everything you do has an impact on what happens to your body.
Oh, and not only that, but also alcohol too, where alcohol can actually make you lose gains even post-workout. When I used to work at some bars and stuff, a few guys who used to also work in the industry would work at the same gym as me. And I would see these guys who would then work out, get a pump before going to go out and drink. And I was just thinking, like, that's literally probably the worst time to work out is before hitting the gym. Before hitting the clubs and bars, because the alcohol is just going to break down all the muscle. Like, you're not going to have any muscle synthesis with alcohol. So that's another thing too. If you want to drink, maybe don't do it after you work out.
It's the whole beers and working out. I don't know, if you want to do it for fun once in your life and it's legal and safe where you are. Yeah, it's fine, but just understand that is not you're sending breakdown and growth messages to your body, and as someone who's not a biochemist, I don't know what the hell is going to happen when you do that. So maybe don't ruin your workout with that.
Yeah, actually. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think kind of a summary of the key factors is that for training, you want to keep some big compound movement, make sure to focus on some strength, do kind of an even upper lower body split. No matter what your aesthetics goals are, there's immense benefits for training the full body. And then after you kind of finish the curve strength movements, do any of the show muscle exercises you want to do, anything that you feel is lacking. Like example for myself, I don't know, my biceps pretty small, so I've been doing a lot of curls on my workouts to kind of try to get some of those a little bigger. And when it comes to recovery and rest for protein, get about, as you were saying, it was what, 1.5 to 2 times your body weight in kilograms of protein.
Yeah.
And making sure you get those key micronutrients, maybe even a multivitamin if you just hate vegetables, which I don't know how you can, man. Some roasted asparagus, some carrots, man. Those are some good stuff. And then afterwards, make sure you sleep. Get those 8 hours. There's no amount of extra working out is going to benefit you more than sleeping 8 hours.
And it's really that simple, honestly. But it's also quite challenging, right? Having in a regular lifestyle, I think the working out itself can be tricky in certain times in day. And if you can't get that hour workout, if you can't get that 40-minute, we were just talking about this before. Like if you can get a little bit in, right? If you're at home, can we do a burnout with push-ups and Supermans for upper body? Can we do a burnout with step-ups and single leg hip thrusts? You know, there's plenty of hard body weight movements. And if you can commit to just not letting yourself skip, at least for the first couple months, so that you can let your body get into the groove of movement, I think that's really good. Always doing something. Never do nothing. That's going to be huge, right? If you can't get optimal nutrition, get something and get some snack in after your workout. If you can't sleep 8 hours, can you throw in a nap somewhere? It's probably good for your other functions anyways, besides the muscle building. So yeah, just doing the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect.
You know, I'm actually kind of wondering about the effects of napping on muscle gain. Like, do you know anything about that? Like, does muscle gaining only occur during the REM cycles?
It is more of a deep sleep thing. So like those like 15-minute naps are not going to do it for you. If you're like a 90-minute nap guy, which I can't do anymore, all of a sudden, that like if you can get in some deep sleep, that's good. But what it's going to do though, it also restores other functions, and muscle building is more of like a constant state of anabolism, right? It's like the equilibrium of your body. So if you can lower the stress of the body a little bit, some people have argued that meditation does a really good job. Anything you can do to return the body to a more neutral, mellower state should be beneficial. Being in always fight or flight, always intense state is not a good, it's not good for a lot of things. It makes you stressed out, but it's also not good for muscle building.
Yeah, man. No, fully understand. And you know, after seeing Timberwolf and his gains and his big belief in meditation, I'm starting to believe that as well.
Yeah, like really, if you can chill out, and you know, working out is a good thing for introverted people like me. Like it's something that if you can commit yourself to chilling out a little bit outside of your training, it's actually a huge beneficial.
Yeah, no, definitely. Gotta get on the meditation train as well. But anyways, I think that wraps up today's Natty News. We covered some really good topics, talked about watching some Paralympics and how to get out there and get fit as well, like some of those amazing athletes.
Yeah, like, and I just want everyone to remember to, you know, if you watch any of the Paralympic events and how challenging it is to even perform them at a low level, just remember that everyone can do something. And if you're interested in something like building muscle, you know, don't get too hard on yourself. Do a good job, eat well, train 3 times a week, get your sleep in, and you'll have your gains in no time. Don't forget to take pictures and track your progress and let us know if this was helpful to you.
Definitely, definitely. And you know what? Most important, no matter what you do, have fun with it. Enjoy the process because it definitely is a lifelong thing. You're not just going to go to the gym for 2 years and then stop doing it. You really got to do it for decades.
Yeah, you want to do it like us, do it for over 10 years and like it enough to get on a podcast and still talk about it every single week and still be just as excited as we were when we were teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. And keep learning new things. Well, anyways, everyone, enjoy your week. I hope you're all making some natty gains, and natty news out.
Natty news out.